All right, folks. Nothing like a big recruit, big commit to cover up some atrocious football, I guess. Miami Hurricanes live here at the Voice of College Football. Lock it in for the next 40 or so, and we will talk it up. So get on in, bring some others with you. We got the wholesome one here on a
Let's go, baby.
Of course. Sir.
Let's go, baby. Good God, Mark. See, Mark, in the season, what actually matters, playing ball right now, Miami's horrible. Mark, we're about to have a super sad show. It's going to be quiet. Nothing to talk about. Maybe we'll talk more college football, what's happening in the world right now. But right before we got on here, Mario Cristobal, the man of the hour, my guy, pulled it out, man, and got CORMANI McLean, number 2 player in the country, Mark. The best player that doesn't throw the football, and the first player overall is overrated, is all outdoors, but we're not going to get into that just because his last name's Manning. Yeah. Absolutely pretty good. Not number 1 player in the country. Anyhow, the best player that doesn't throw a football from Lakeland, Florida, Mark, that's Gator country. We don't even go in there. We don't even go there. Mark, it was to the point where it made no sense to even talk to the people. It's like, yeah, you know what? It's an arranged marriage. It makes no sense for you to slide in her DMs. She's sorry. The parents already talked it out, man. Once she gets of age, she's marrying this guy. Oh, no. But there is a man in Coral Gables down there in Dade County from the crib, Mario Cristobal. He's still working on his coaching, still working on his Saturday, still working on when to call timeout, still working on his hires, still working on how to control and gel a team. But as far as talent acquisition, this man won't be stopped. He just won't be stopped, Mark. Whether it was at Oregon, whether it was at Alabama, whether he built a team at FIU that won 10 games and was the best season in their school history and never sniffed a bowl, let alone 10 games since then. They beat Miami in 2019, but we'll leave that alone. This is what he does. Now, all the other stuff we can work on. That'll be over time. But one thing he's going to do, Mark, is he's going to have a team. And he's going to have talent out there that can play the game. Now, hiring the right coaches to put them in the right situation to be ultimately successful once they put on that uniform, that's something separate. But as far as what he does in the relationship building that he does with these young men's parents, what he does with these young men and getting them throughout their high school process, talking to JV teams, talking to sophomore teams, talking to the juniors and seniors, he builds a relationship all the way through, Mark. And he loves that part of it and building that relationship and getting young men to put pen to paper, man. If you can't tell, I'm excited. God dog it.
You have reason to be. And Mario Cristobal should be happy because he's got the fan base off his back suddenly because people weren't happy.
Mark, I don't know if he got his office back. For today, for right now, we don't be happy with him. Come Saturday when we lose to Virginia, we won't be as happy. But today, we're going to be happy right now. And that's what I have all the energy and all the excitement for as a total Twitter. I'm going to bring the energy tonight, Mark. We're going to wake it up in this thing. I'm tired of seeing 300, 400 views for Miami Hurricanes content because we suck on the football field. This right here, we're going to get you back up to that 2 to 3K because they want to hear what the host one Holloway has to say about CORMANI McLean coming to you. Hot dog.
Have you checked out his tape?
Mark, come on, man. Did the sun come up this morning?
So what do you see?
Well, I say this, Mark. When it comes to as a high school recruit, I think he is one of the best all-time cornerbacks. Not just because he's coming to Miami. If he was going to Florida, if he was going to LSU, I would say the same thing. He's a big-time player as far as what he can do in the coverage aspect. His speed, his football IQ, the way he likes to play man. He's also started to incorporate some zone as of late. Him and the Lakeland defensive coordinator has really been helping with that. You know, Mark, for the longest when they were just the best, hey, he's man. Everybody else, we figure it out. But specifically this season, I've seen them start to really work him in on some zone, learning how to pass people off properly, how to play cover 2 and 3. And, of course, you know those things, but you have to work on it, okay? I mean, you want to talk about just him as a prospect, Mark. If he actually puts pen to paper, he's an early enrollee, which means he'll sign on December 15th. He'll be on campus in January in the orange and green, right? Look at this, Mark. Listen to this. CORMANI McLean would be the 6th best Miami Hurricanes recruit of all time. Now, this is probably since they've been doing recruiting, so I would say it goes back to maybe the early 2000s that 247, according to 247, has been taken into account, the rating system and things of that nature. But the 6th best Miami Hurricanes commit, recruit, signee of all time. Right behind him, Mark, is our offensive tackle commit. Okay. And Francis Mauigoa. So we got two of the best top 10 Miami Hurricanes recruits, top 8, because there's 6 and 7, to sign with Miami. The number 1 guy, DJ Williams, class of 2000. The number 2 guy, I want to say, is either Willie Williams or number 2 guy is Chantrell Henderson. Number 3 guy is Willie Williams. Number 4 is Ryan Moore. Number 5 is Kyle Wright. Mark, all 5 of those people were recruited 20 years ago. Now, bringing in a nice cornerback recruit, we've kind of seen this story before with a young man like Tracy Howard, who signed a borderline 5-star, signed with Miami in class of 2012, I would believe. But this feels good, man. This feels good on the heels of a disgusting loss to Duke, in the middle of a really, really tough patch of Miami Hurricanes football. It feels great. And there's really no need to overhype the young man. He's that damn good. He can go. He can play. And I can't wait to see him go out there in the orange and green. Now, some people, I was having a conversation with a close friend of mine before I got on Rubicon, and some people feel like he isn't plug and play. You know, he'll play in some games as far as start. He'll play in every game, but they don't think he's a starter. I think he walks in. He's the best cornerback since I don't know when to ever go to Miami. He's a starter. We'll figure out the other guy. This guy.
Is that one of the best positions to step right in, corner? One of the easier ones? Not an easy position to play. It might be the toughest position to play but in terms of the scheme and all that not being as difficult to catch on to from that position.
I would say yes, only because it's only a couple different things you got. Now, the communication aspect, we have to work on that diligently, but it's only a certain amount of things we could do here. Okay, you either got deep thirds, you have the man in front of you, or flats. It's about it. The rest of it is mixing it up with all kinds of, and the best thing I think you can do with a cornerback, a young cornerback like that, is just let him play. Go out there and say, hey, play football. Now, of course, we're going to communicate with you and let you know what coverage we're in, but go play. Just go see ball, get ball, go attack that football at its highest point. Oh, I haven't been this happy in so long. Happy in a while. Oh man,
and you should be. It should be. It's good to see because it's good to see. It's good to see that you're overjoyed because what we saw on Saturday. We can keep going on CORMANI McLean.
But eventually we got to address that too. We got to talk about that eventually. Yeah. Let's have a little bit more time in the sunlight. Let's talk a little bit more about CORMANI, and then we'll talk about Duke. But let's bask in the ambience.
Okay.
Of the number 2 player in the country committing to the U. Wow, hot dog.
You took him away from everyone, but specifically, I know that Florida was feeling pretty good. Some Florida people that I know felt good about him going their way.
Yeah, like I said, it's Florida Gator country. Lakeland,
Yeah.
Florida, it's a pipeline. There's some of their best players. Is like if you're above average to good to great, you go to Florida from Lakeland. That's just how it works. And it was going to take somebody big, like Coach Cristobal, and it was going to take the right situation for us to kind of break that and get a young man like this. But you're right. Feels good to be able to stick it to them. We're not doing too good on the field either. They're doing all right, but I mean, they play an SEC schedule, so it's compare and contrast is not really there. It's not like they're losing by 20 to Vanderbilt. So I mean, we got it.
Falcon Rex, appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for your super sticker. Falcon Rex is so elated he thinks he's drunk. Mark Perry, appreciate you being here, man. My brother is a Gator fan, and he texted me saying, I hope y'all lose the next 10 games. Gotta love it.
Hey, that's it. That's it. I'm feeling it, man. It's an exciting time. It's a good feel. There's always something about being able to have a in-state guy, these in-state young men. And, IMG Academy kind of, it cheats. Like he's listed as a Florida player, but Francis Marigoa is from California. Okay. Some of these big time, Jaden Wayne is from Washington. They're Florida high school recruits because they play in high school in Florida. But there's something about being able to really hone in and what we can do in the big three with the Florida Gators, with the Tallahassee people, and Miami, being able to keep the talent here and keep it funneling between those three. That really helps change things, in college football again. Having 2 or 3 wide receivers, 2, 3, 5 stars early on in like Dabo's tenure, the Tampa guys, I forget their names, but it was like 3, 4-star wide receivers that all went up to play at Clemson. That's on us. That's on us in the big three. You can't have that, and we've been down for a bit, and best you say the better part of a decade. We got to fix it. Of course, I want Miami to be at the forefront of that, but we got to do it. And it starts with landing and winning your recruiting battles. A lot of people say it's about winning on the field. And I don't like doing the revisionist history thing, but look at Coach Saban. After his first year, what were they, 6 and 7 or something like that? Baby didn't even make a bowl.
6. Yep.
Wins getting the more recruiting class in the country. This is how you change it. Yes, you want to win as much as you can, but you got to be able to get the young men to come in to make it into a longevity thing. You have to.
There's a category on 247 Sports that shows you that all the players in a particular state and where they're going and if they've committed, and I'm looking for that. Why can't I find that? I was just curious to look at the top 50 to 100 players in Florida. Not even that much, but I was just curious to see the distribution.
Well, they were basically going to Bama, Georgia. I mean, Ohio State doesn't really recruit down here that much. They've snuck in at wide receiver lately with Brandon Ennis and a couple of big-time wide receivers who are committed. We'll see if they end up signing there, but they're committed to Ohio.
If they're smart, they'll keep that commitment.
I'm not going to let you steal my joy today, Mark Rogers. Okay?
I don't do that very often. Come on. I don't brag on here very often. Not very often at all.
Yeah, well, no. I mean, hey, you got to be really proud you got to be proud of your school, man. I get it, man.
Uncle Bill. Thank you. Appreciate that. Wholesome one. Do you think we have a shot at making a bowl game this year? I'm not too sure.
Deep breath in. All right. Time to go back to reality and talk about football. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't see us winning on Saturday. I also don't see us beating Tallahassee. I don't think that game will be close. I think Tallahassee will beat us by 14 points or something like that. And you got to find a way to somehow beat Pitt and Georgia Tech, but even then, that's still 5-7. So nah. Clemson will skull drug us. Tallahassee is at least 2 touchdowns better. Virginia, I don't know. I don't know if maybe I'm missing a game somewhere in there to get to 6, but your 2 best options at winning the rest of the season, in my opinion, is Georgia Tech and Pitt. That's your only 2 options.
You don't think they win this Saturday?
No. It would surprise me if they do, and I'll be very excited, but I don't think they beat Virginia.
I think they win this Saturday.
I hope you're right, Mark.
I think they win this Saturday. I think they should beat Georgia Tech, and then I think they get a steal one against somebody else to get to a bowl game.
I hope you're right, man. I really do.
So the top players in the state right now, so you got McLean to Miami. Keon Keeley still deciding. He's number 2. As you mentioned, Mauagoa, Miami. He's the number 3 player in the state. Then the next 2 are Ohio State commits that you mentioned, Ennis and Tate, but they're still up in the air. And even the Ohio State guys that I have on all the time, they will say, hey, anytime an Ohio State player or a Florida player commits to Ohio State, until he's signed, it's not a done deal. The next player, Damon Wilson, he hasn't decided, but it looks like the crystal ball says Ohio State. Then there's a Cedric Baxter going to Texas.
Supposedly, he grew up a big Tallahassee fan, and he's on a official visit there right now this week or this upcoming weekend. So they're really excited about that. They may try to steal and flip him.
And Florida State got one in Hakeem Williams. Desmond Ricks is the next guy, and he hasn't committed. The next 2 guys are going Georgia, Alabama. So Miami got the 15th rated player in Jaden Wayne. Okay. Riley Williams is 20 and Robbie Washington's 21. So that's 2, 3. That's 5 of the top 21. You know, what would you expect to get out of the top 20?
I would say 5 to 9.
Yeah.
Somewhere in that range. I think it's only fair. I mean, even in elite Miami, you still would have to say maybe add 2 more to that. Maybe the most I would think out of the top 20 could be 11 committed to Miami, but I think that's like on a borderline great to elite standard. But so much talent to go around, but so many, people coming in to poach out of the state anyway. And some guys grew up Gators, some people grew up Tallahassee people. Things are wrong with them, but we'll see.
8 of the top 36. So that's where it stands right now. Chuck C., appreciate you being here, man. Thank you so much for that super chat contribution. Hello, fellas. Seems like the big plays given up over those couple of games may have helped. Antoine Jackson moved to 2023 today. Also, Mario is sticking to his process, painful as it may be. Thanks, guys. Thank you, Chuck.
I agree, Chuck. I agree 100%, man. I think you're right on the head, man. At the end of the day, it's just anything that's worthwhile doesn't usually come easy. And when it comes to Miami winning and playing games right now, it's just you could point in so many different directions. You could argue that it's the players. You could argue that it's the coaches. Blah, blah, blah. At this point, it feels like, Mark, we got to find a way to get through this season. Like I said, I think you make a bowl, thumbs up to you, because it's just kind of all caved in on you. You got to do some of your best coaching, your best player personnel, just handling. Leaders have to kind of be built and kind of lock it and hold on to get the 6 wins. And hopefully you play Rutgers in the Out West Chicken Wings Bowl and get a dub and roll in at 7-6. The crazy part is at 7-6, you might have a top 5 recruiting class, and everybody's going. But here's the thing, Mark. A lot of people want to take jabs and say that it's because of our big-time booster in Ruiz. Okay. But here's my thing. you have to look at the history of the people in charge. I look at Coach Cristobal, whether he had on the A on his chest, now this U logo, or whether that the Oregon over his chest before NIL, he was able to. He's a big relationships and recruiting guy. It's what he does. Now, in contrast to Jimbo Fisher, his was all talent acquisition when he was at Tallahassee. He's just going to stack that roster with a whole bunch of talent, and we'll figure it out on Saturdays. And now he's running into issues where it may not be the best culture. He just keeps stacking player on player on player. Well, when you look at our evaluation, you got Alonzo Highsmith, you have Coach Cristobal and a bunch of other people and our head of recruiting, to where they're like, hey, we want the right kinds of people. Because once we start to build this and get it stacking on, we want it to all come together as a culture. It's not just like, oh, just because you're some 5-star from Houston, Texas, and the next guy is from 5-star from Arizona, we just throw you all together and say, figure it out. That may not be too sustainable. But being able to bring the right people together, we'll see.
The recruiting rankings post NIL don't look any different to me than they were pre-NIL. And I remember making this comment, not that I'm some genius or anything, but I didn't know how to figure it out in terms of the impact. But I remember saying this a zillion different times in different ways. I just said, until I see different, I would assume that the same boosters, the same people with money that are throwing money into these programs to build buildings and facilities and enlarge coaching staffs and hire analysts and all the things that these huge programs can do because they get the boosters flowing in money to do all these things, they're going to be the same ones that are going to be able to fund NIL. So I wouldn't really anticipate much changing.
Right. I mean, Mark, until you look up in these big, rich boosters, I mean, SMU is one of the richest schools in the country. Are they signing the number one player in the state of Texas? At the end of the day, it still has to be about, yeah, you could give me all this money, but can you make me better? Can you help me get to the NFL? And if the answer to that is no and no, it doesn't, the money is a plus, yeah, but you're not going to, university, look at the Big Ten. The Big Ten has some of the most richest and prestigious academic institutions with a bunch of great boosters. I ain't seen some quarterback from California signed to the Minnesota Gophers just because they got a whole bunch of money. No shade.
True. Those boosters have to be football fans too.
True.
Some of those boosters give to build libraries or whatever.
Yeah, that's a valid point. Yeah, that's a valid point. Dormitories and things of that nature, yeah.
All right. Do we get past the smiles and the giggles and all that? Do we have to look at the game tape from Saturday?
We have to, Mark.
Okay, because you're the guy to do it.
Yeah,
we have you here.
Win, lose, or draw, I'm gonna do it. Win, lose, or draw, I gotta upload it. Sometimes I delete it because I use a lot of 4-letter words that I probably shouldn't use. I make a lot of statements that I probably can't say too publicly. So sometimes I just delete it and just move on. Before I go into that, I would love to answer Anthony Manzano's question. He's asked it a couple times, so I want to go ahead and answer that if I can, please. Wholesome, can you explain how reclassifying works and how a guy like Ricks, who hasn't been in the 2023 class for a long time, becomes the second best player at his position? Okay, so reclassification works similar to when people go from, they skip a grade, skip the 3rd grade to go to the 4th, skip the 4th grade. It's just like that. It usually works for people who are academically on a different level because you're basically saying I have enough credits to graduate at this time, and my senior year will basically be just me taking a bunch of extra electives or basically maybe even doing dual enrollment, because that happened a bunch in the state of Florida, as opposed to AP, which is advanced placement, which is just extra crap. A lot of the regular students did dual enrollment, which meant they were students at said high school and also at Miami-Dade County Technical Institution, also at the University of Florida online, things of that nature. So the football aspect of that is what's called reclassification, where a young man understands that he wants to not only enroll early, but enroll an entire year early and skip their senior season and be a part of this new signing class and to graduate from high school as a junior because they already have the credits to do so. It's usually how reclassification works from the academic and the athletic aspect. Sometimes it's been kind of iffy, but for the most part, it works out really well. These young men get a chance to come in a year younger, a year less beat up, and get that extra coaching year in advance. Because the worst thing you would want is somebody like that to get complacent and say, not saying he's that kind of person, but there are people who can get complacent and just say, whatever, I'm going to Bama anywhere, it don't matter, and may have a bad senior season, get dropped, and things of that nature. So reclassification has a lot of really good pluses to it, but it takes, number one, not just a great athlete, it takes what they do in the classroom to even be in conversation because they have to have a certain amount of credits to graduate.
Folks, we deliver the same great analysis each and every week, and I say myself we in connection with the Wholesome One. He delivers the analysis. I do what I do with the other videos and so forth, which I did post a video that I don't know that I did my yearly look at the state of the U in regards to the state of the U after this last loss, and had some choice words to say about where things stand right now. But I bring that up because I see some super chats coming in, which is very nice because we are the same and deliver at the same quality every week. But it just seems like this is what moves the needle. Number one, the team's really, 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 really good.
Yeah,
I love that. Well, that's not the case. Or
no, far from it.
The team's really, really bad, which
yeah,
that could be said, but obviously Mario just got hired. But when you got a really,
right.
really bad team and your coach has been there for 4 or 5 years and everybody wants him fired, that's the next thing that really moves the needle. I've noticed on my channels when fan bases want the coach fired, that just and then number 3 would be big commit. And that's what we got tonight. So we got people.
Yeah, I agree. Or big hirings, things of that nature.
Sure.
Big hirings is huge. You know, we had, of course, because everybody knows I'm the Mario Cristobal guy. So you had me on that week when he got hired. And I think he got hired on a Monday. So we had to wait till the next week or something. We almost had like, when you went live after pen to paper and he had just finished his presser, because I came on with you after you finished his presser, we had over 1,000 people on here live.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not just because I'm saying it's me, but just saying when you drive a bunch of traffic to it when big things like that happen. Like I don't even know how many people we got in here right now, but it might be the most we've had in a couple weeks.
Yeah, we're at 153.
Yeah, we usually are about like 50 or 60 because we've just been losing. Now going into A&M, we had hundreds of people in. In the preseason, you got hundreds because it's all talk. But eventually, once you start playing ball, you got to really talk about it. But go ahead, Mark. I know you're pressed for time, so go ahead.
No, we're good. I've got a 9 o'clock call-in show, so that's not me holding anybody up. So that's me changing my own schedule. So if we keep it going here a little bit longer than that, that's fine.
Okay.
Adam B. Kane, just a quick reminder that we got the number 1 cornerback in the nation. That's it.
I love it. I mean, that feels good. Now, yes, you would probably want something like this. And the thing is, we got it on the offensive side, too, with that offensive lineman. Now, of course, you probably would want it to be a quarterback, receiver, running backs, you know, somebody that could put points on the board. But you look at what Miami has had to go through at the cornerback position for like the better part of the last decade. Whew, this is a big help, you know, whether you got the guys that, you know, insert names here from 2019 and 2020. And then we got some help with Tyreek Stevenson in 21. But 19 and 20 was really hard to watch cornerback play at Miami. And some of those guys are still out there right now as rotational guys, and one's a starter, used to be a starter. But even before that, you had Midget Mac, Trajan Bandy, and it was like, wow, this is not a 5'8", 203-pound slow corner at Miami. But that's what it was. So We had to deal with that. So this is big, man. This is big. I don't necessarily know if it's you want to start talking about outcome of games worthy just yet, because he hasn't even signed to put pen to paper. But as far as right here, right now, recruiting, what it does as like it's this national shock. Like people are like, nah, he was a Florida lock or a Bama lock. He just has the Miami hat up there to throw. Now you're like, no, he actually picked it up. And it was no games, Mark. Usually people pick up the hat, throw this hat, zip this shirt, throw that shirt, had their mama throw him a hat, had their little brother throw him another shirt, put on a visor. They do all this kind of crazy stuff. He picked up his hat, put it on, said, I'm going to Miami, threw up to you, walked away.
Nice.
Business.
Yeah. That's nice. Okay. I was looking for that live stream. Can you imagine? I just did a search Mario Cristobal on this channel. It's just endless videos with Mario Cristobal in the title.
Right.
You can imagine.
Right.
Well, here's an interesting one where 3 years ago, there's a video with you. Oh shoot, did I lose track of it? With you campaigning for Mario.
Win, lose, or draw, Mark, he gonna be my guy. Like I said, he's the right answer, man. I know some people right now it's tough with the losses. And everybody wants the Lane train because he was undefeated and Miami was struggling. Some people want Urban Meyer to come out of retirement to coach at Miami. We got our guy. If we hold on right, I think he'll be the right solution.
Are we going to talk about Duke now?
Yeah. What I thought was going to happen for Miami happened for Duke. I thought that we were going to be in a tight. Remember, I said I think 17-10 halftime score, something like that. I felt like it would be a good first half, and then Miami eventually pull away. That's what happened for Duke. 8 turnovers, 5 interceptions, 3 lost fumbles. The worst turnover for any team in college football history in one game. It's bad. It's really, really bad. You get your quarterback knocked out. We don't know if it's a broken collarbone, if he's done for the season, if he's coming back. We don't know. It's tough to really put it on the defense because you got a couple pick sixes in there. You have 4 drives where they got the ball from the 25 in. So they were literally in field goal territory, in plus territory, in the red zone or 5 yards away from the red zone 4 times, consecutive times. It was just looked like for lack of a better term, like one of my old coaches said, we look like a circus. I can't say some of the other terms he would say in front of that, but we look like a circus. Blank, 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 blank circus. And it was crazy. It was just crazy to watch. The film was just like, I'm watching Jake Garcia, a young man that all his pressure is on him, and he was able to get Miami back in the lead, back-to-back touchdown drive, 71-yard bomb. And then the defense gives up his first 90-yard drive, and it felt like the energy just sank out anyway. He goes out there and he's throwing some interceptions where you're really wondering, what did he see? What could he have been looking at to throw that ball? There's 3 defenders in that area. It was really bad. Offensive line right now is horrible at Miami. It's bad. Quarterback play again. Can't run the football. We have Kobe Young. He's doing well. ACC wide receiver of the week. Again, very, very good. And again, it's really hard to judge defense. As a defensive guy, as somebody who's been on that side of the ball, I can imagine. Yes, our job is to stop them. They gave up 1 drive that actually was a drive with it. They gave up 3 third-down conversions and 2 fourth-down conversions in that same drive. That was a 90-yard drive, and I think it just broke the confidence of the team at that point. It got to a point where even Duke had a chance to make it 52 to whatever, and they decided to just take a knee on the 9-yard, which was made me feel way worse to watch them do that. But Fan support was big. Miami showed up. I mean, not amazing like Notre Dame in 2017, but we had about 50,000 people there. Not just sold tickets, but you look at some points in that game, the crowd got real loud trying to help the team in there with a nice showing. I would say it's not like last year's Virginia where we had 11,000 people there for a Thursday night game. But it was just bad, and it kept getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And at the end of the day, I think Duke may be an 8-9 win kind of program. They're playing well. Even in my film breakdown, I'm watching them. We talked about it against North Carolina, against Georgia Tech. This team can go. This team can play. And on the road, at home, the way that they play offense, that up-tempo, RPO, spread kind of look, they didn't stop. And no one's going to feel sorry for you at this level. We're not playing JV football, and we're not playing 135-pounder 8U, where everyone deserves a participation trophy. And everybody deserves to have a good time. No one cares about that in college football. So you don't show up prepared, you don't come to play, you're going to get your ass whooped. That's what happened.
You know what this has the makings of for the 2023 season? This just hit me, is a really young team. I don't mean the whole roster. I mean the guys that play on the field. Because you've got a coach who's come in. He doesn't care about tenure. He doesn't care about who was here before, who's first string, who's second string. He's going by who's the best. And he brought in a nice recruiting class his first cycle. And then on top of that, he's got a great one working for this year. And so the guys that are playing next season, it could be an inordinately young team compared to most teams.
Right.
I would think.
And, you know, Mark, there comes a point where you talk about young or snap count and having that conversation of, are they old because it just says RS Junior or JR or SR next to their name, or do they have a bunch of career snaps, meaning that you know of this young man? He's been playing, he's been a rotational guy or a consistent contributor for the last 2 or 3 seasons, or has he just been sitting there on the bench and he's the oldest guy, so you expect him to go out there and play and be a starter for you? That's where I could see what you mean by for 2023, which is a really tough schedule again. I don't know if we add Florida just yet, but is Florida 23-24 or 24-25?
I'll give it a look.
But the next couple of years, not recruiting, schedule-wise, it's a big step up. You add Notre Dame in here pretty soon, which under the new head coach doesn't look too good now, but they will be better. I know we got A&M at home next year. We got Clemson at home next year in 23.
Well, yeah, next year starts the new schedule format, so no more ACC Coastal.
Right.
So it's going to be a even mix of everybody. Well, not an even mix. There are those 3 set opponents. Florida State. Who are the other 2?
Louisville and Boston College.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
those are the 3 that Miami will play year in and year out, which I'm not really tripping. Boston College can be Louisville. It will always be a team that I think can push Miami. It'll be similar to I think it might be our new North Carolina, a team that can push us. If we don't take them serious, can surpass us because they're doing all right in recruiting also. So we'll see.
Yeah. So yeah, the big out of conference game, of course, is Texas A&M coming to Hard Rock.
And then, we'll see. Luke Walker, man. Thank you for Luke Walker for being here. Says, don't forget you'll be facing the best QB in America next year. You might be right. I really love the way what's that young man's name? Mays. Man, he can go. He can play. You know, Lucas picked and choose when he wants to be respectful or disrespectful or talk crazy. You can be confident in your player and your team, and I get that. But after watching that young man go, I'll talk my trash too. He's a big time player.
Did anybody besides Colby Young show up and play on Saturday?
No. I mean, some guys may have some stats, but I also watched this defense just kind of give up. And then that to me, I understand the situation. And there's usually context to things. Like if you look at the score, you're just wondering. But you got to look at the box score. You look at the fact that it was a close game. And these are two middle-of-the-road kind of programs right now. We might be in the 40s, 30s, 40s ranked nationally as far as play right now. You put both of them on the field, you got a close game. And eventually the turnovers just swung it in the opposite direction. I don't know if you replay that game again 10 times if you get that same outcome. Duke may still win 4 or 5 of them, but that turnover thing, it's just it really does that to your team. It swings it the other way. And we watched it in 2017 be the sole reason why we were a 10-win program is because we were forcing 3 or 4 turnovers a game, 4 for an entire month. Like every game had 4 turnovers in it. And being able to steal those kinds of possessions away is big. And if you could turn 2 of them into pick sixes, that's 14 points. So, I mean, it's one of those where you have to say, hey, chalk it up. Let's get to the next one. And, try to get it as less scathed as possible.
Birdstone, appreciate you being here and encouraging everyone to hit the like button. Thank you for that, man. And that's a simple thing, everyone. It's still, when we ask for the like button to be hit, it drives me nuts that if, let's say, we get 3,000 views on this video and there's like 150 likes, that's like 5%. Would think that's pretty easy to do. Hit the like button.
So I've been doing some research into that, Mark. They only count when it comes to the like button.
Yeah.
They count people that have these like names and like it has to be something that's like a created account. So you add your email to it, you have your name. They only count those. They don't count like random people that just happen to be on the app that hit the like button. I was very thoroughly amazed when I found it out. And that makes sense.
What do you mean by a created account?
So you know how, for example, let's look at Dante Colon, right? So if Dante Colon just happened to be somebody that didn't have his email attached, didn't have a name added to it, and he's just someone that happens to use the app, they're not going to count that like.
Okay. All right.
And that's on our new algorithm breakdown that they released about a couple months ago. So
yeah, I don't read those.
Because I mean, it makes sense, Mark. There's videos out there that have millions of views and then only have tens of thousands likes and dislikes. That number doesn't add up, and it's because they don't have it has to be, so we got to push people to create a channel. Add your
I gotcha. They want people to create a channel. Appreciate you all being here though. So help us out in any way that you can. Get on over to the Wholesome Ones channel. Are you going to release the film breakdown at 9?
No, not tonight. It'll be tomorrow.
Okay.
It drops tomorrow, Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm dropping both of them. So I have my Duke review and I have my Virginia preview. We're dropping tomorrow night back to back. 8 p.m. Eastern Standard is the review. 9 p.m. is the preview.
And here's the other thing, folks. If everybody grabbed a few people, whether that's like physically in the house, like, well, not in the house. You got to be on a different laptop. My bad. But you know what I mean. Get on social media, grab people, say, we talk Miami football every Thursday night. Let's get in here. But we appreciate you being here. Next thing I was going to hit on, and I saw a comment in the chat that was reading my mind at exactly the time I was going to bring this up. You know what positional unit to me has been the biggest disappointment is this running back group was supposed to be, and I thought was going to be excellent.
Yeah. Now, that statement has a lot behind it. And, of course, you got to have context to it.
Yeah.
Injuries is something that you coming in, You had what's number 2? Chaney. He never played a snap at Miami. Hurt.
Yeah.
Hasn't played a snap this year. Hurt.
Yeah.
Knighton came in from an injury off of last year. Citizen hurt himself in practice, early training camp. So it was, yes, on paper it would really be disappointing, but when you add the context to it, not too many of them actually got hurt playing in games. It's been injuries, and it's an unfortunate bug that has spread all over this team, and it's just been a very injury-riddled season for the Miami Hurricanes. Now, again, no one gives a damn, but it's a valid point as far as the injuries. Now, secondly, they are also a very dependent position. Just like the quarterback, they're dependent on the 5 men in front of them. We've had injuries there. Your starting center is out. Your starting right guard is out. You've been flipping in and out with tackle. I mean, we're down to our 3rd-string center at this point. So, yes, running back has been disappointing, but the quality of the talent of people who help them become better and the play calling and the situations that Miami has been put in has really helped it to not be successful. I mean, it's just that simple.
When you're evaluating film on a high school player, let's just stay with offense for a second. I would think that offensive line would be the easiest to evaluate for this reason. The wide receivers are the most dependent position on the field. You could have the greatest wide receiver in the world, and if the quarterback was horrible and the offensive line and all that were horrible, then they're not getting the ball. So the running backs, sure, they can make plays for themselves. They can make an offensive line look better. They can make guys miss and all that, but they need guys to block. They can't run against 11 guys. They need it. Of course, the quarterback needs the offensive line first and foremost. Now you can evaluate a quarterback who's throwing the ball on the money and the receivers suck and they can't bring it down. And you can say, well, this QB is still really good. He just gets let down constantly. But the offensive line, that's where it starts. So those dudes, all the work that they're doing, nobody else is impacting that at all. Whereas everything they're doing impacts the quarterback, impacts the receivers, impacts the running back.
Absolutely. I would say I see where you're coming from, but I would disagree. I think evaluation of high school offensive line has to be one of the hardest. Because, Mark, if you're that good, you're probably the biggest person out there.
Yeah.
And you're just mauling and throwing these people back. And you got – I even look at a young man right now who quit football to be a rapper, and he was on the team at Miami recently. He was a 4-star recruit, offensive guard, was top 10 at his position, and he couldn't crack the depth chart at Miami. Now he quit and he want to be a rapper, which is cool. Whatever you want to do is what you want to do. But he was one of the best high school prospect signees to Miami in a while. Okay, but it gets to the point where can you still move the person when they're just as big as you? That's a big point. Okay, can you keep your diet and your nutrition? Do you have a good offensive line culture that you're adding this person to? I mean, there's 5-star recruits who signed to Wisconsin and Iowa, and it doesn't work out for them because their level of talent is not what really gets infused into this formula. It kind of throws it off a bit. Okay, but if you take a 3-star guy or a no-star guy who happens to be 6'6", 260-pound farmer kid who just happens to play 9-man football, and the Wisconsin Badgers come calling, they put him in the system, spit him out as a redshirt senior. He's the 10th overall pick to the Saints. It's weird in that way, and that's why you continue to throw so much talent at it, because when it comes to that offensive line, man, it's a hard eval unless they're playing big-time high school football. Like a Francis Marigoa, now at I almost said St. Thomas Aquinas. Now at IMG Academy, he's playing some of the best talent week in and week out. But you look at a guy from Jacksonville who plays maybe 2 or 3 guys across from him that's just as good. The rest are, JUCO, maybe FCS, maybe, or just going to go to the University of Florida and be a student and talk trash in the stands kind of guy. So you have to, it's kind of hard to evaluate them in that aspect.
Find us on Patreon, search MarkRogersTV. What you get there is you get the Discord link that allows you to do everything that you're doing right now. Talk college football with other college football fans all the time, except you can do it all the time. You don't need a live stream to do it. You do it all the time. And you get my picks. You get the Wholesome Ones picks. So what I do is I throw the Wholesome One and 18 other media people 12 games every week. And they're the toughest 12 games to pick. And they got to go at it. And then I pick all the games on the side anyway. And so you get my picks as well.
Yeah, Mark, I'm having a tough year in my picks this year. I'm having a tough year. I've been doing it for 2 seasons now. Last year, I did it way better. But last year, I basically just picked the favorites and went with my heart with a couple of them. But some of them, hey, I want to be the guy that picked the upset. I want to be the guy that called it, So I just been being me about it. And it's been when it comes to my overall record.
Because if you look at my record on there, it's not great. And overall, I'm having a pretty good year because I've had 3 excellent weekends in a row. I'm 32-17 against the spread the last 3 weekends. But those are I do about 25 picks total, but I only do the 12 against all of you. So I've made most of my good picks on the other picks. So I am far from the lead, and I was finished first last year, but I'm going to have to really kick it in gear to do that this year.
Yeah, I'm technically the worst. Like in both categories, I am the worst. I have the most losses.
That's what's funny is obviously there's a minor connection between football knowledge and being able to pick games right. But I think people go overboard thinking that, if we kept track of Herb Street and whoever else is on set and the games I don't think there's any connection between.
It's because we go toe to toe, and you ask me, okay, how would you stop Tennessee's offense? What would you come out and if you saw this formation? I could do that. And then some of those people that have a great ratio of picking games don't even know what cover 3 is. Wouldn't even be able to tell you what a weak side linebacker's assignment is if they come out in all these different formations. I'm not bragging. I'm just saying that, like you said, you never know.
All right, folks. We do appreciate you being here, and certainly appreciate everybody being patient tonight. That was my situation. I was of course, the night that I'm actually setting up the live stream like 15 minutes early. I'm sitting here I'm making notes. I'm looking at things. I got the NC State game on. Then I had to respond to a call like 2 minutes before the Wholesome One sat down and had to work out a little situation here.
And what's crazy about it is usually you got to cover for me because I'm coming back from work or practice or whatever. So I'm 15 to 20 minutes late. And this time I'm like ready to go. I'm in place. And I'm just staring at like a black screen. I'm like, where's Mark? So that's why I gave you, I'm glad we got a chance to do it, man. But
absolutely.
Yeah, it was good. It's probably, the last time I'll be happy for a couple weeks as far as Miami Hurricanes football. But we'll see what happens Saturday. We'll see.
Everyone, I'm headed over to the main channel, and we are going to do a rapid-fire call-in show that's only going to last like 45 minutes. None of these 3-hour marathons tonight. None of that. So this is going to be rapid-fire, quick, and I know I'm going to piss some people off because this happens all the time because I take calls and people want me to stay on for 3.5 hours, and I appreciate that you want me to stay on, but that's not happening tonight. We're going to go rapid-fire. Meet us on over at the main channel. Get to the Wholesome Ones channel as well. He's dropping his film study on Friday. Appreciate you being here, man.
Yep, no problem. Thanks for the opportunity. Go Canes.